Hey, welcome! Today we're going to unlock one of the most powerful tools you can have in English, conditional sentences. And trust me, they're not just about boring grammar rules. They're about how we think, how we dream, and, yeah, even how we regret things. If you can get these right, you're going to sound so much more natural and fluent.
I mean, we all do this, right? You're constantly thinking about what-if moments. What if I'd taken that other job? Or what if I win the lottery tomorrow? All of that what-if thinking, well, that's exactly what conditionals are for. You could almost call them the grammar of imagination.
So, what are they, officially? Well, a conditional sentence is basically a two-part deal. First, you've got the if clause. That's your condition. It sets up the whole scenario. And then you have the result clause, which tells you what happens because of that condition. It's really just a cause and effect thing that lets us explore all those what-ifs. Okay, so here's our game plan. We're going to start with real conditionals. These are all about facts and real possibilities. Then we'll dive into unreal conditionals, which we use for hypotheticals and daydreams. After that, we'll get into some pretty cool advanced forms before we wrap it all up with a big comparison and a quick quiz. All right, let's get into it. First up, real conditionals. The best way to think about these is as the possible conditionals. We use them for things that are just generally true or things that have a very real chance of actually happening. So we've got two types of these real conditionals. On one hand, you have the zero conditional. This is for stuff that's always true, like scientific facts. The formula is super simple. If plus present tense, then present tense again. But for things that are real possibilities in the future, we switch to the first conditional. The formula changes just a tiny bit. If plus present tense, but the result uses will plus a verb. And looking at these examples makes the difference super clear. If you heat water to 100 degrees Celsius, it boils. That's a fact. It's always true. That's your zero conditional. But if it rains tomorrow, we'll stay home. That's a specific plan for something that might happen. That's a first conditional, and you can see it works in the negative too. If she doesn't call, I'll send an email. Makes sense, right? Okay, now let's get into the really fun stuff, the impossible or unlikely scenarios with unreal conditionals. This is where the grammar gets so interesting, because these are the tools we use for daydreaming, imagining a different past, or even talking about our regrets. The big difference here is all about time. The second conditional uses the simple past tense, and we use it to talk about hypotheticals in the present or the future. But if you want to talk about impossible situations in the past, you need the third conditional, and that uses the past perfect, which is had plus the past participle. And notice how the result also changes, from would for the present to would have for the past. Just look at this first one. If I were rich, I would travel the world. I'm not rich right now, so it's an unreal dream about my present. Perfect second conditional. Now compare that with, if I had studied harder, I would have passed the exam. This is looking back at something in the past that's over. It can't be changed. It is a classic way to express regret using the third conditional. And you know, this is actually fascinating. Some research shows that we don't just use this complex grammar for, abstract stuff. The number one reason we use the third conditional, a whopping 43% of the time, is to express regret. And right behind that, at 38%, is to criticize someone or blame them. Like, if you had told me about the meeting, I would have been there. It's really the grammar of our emotions. Okay, you ready to level up? Because now we're going to look at some advanced forms that will make your English sound really sophisticated. We're going to learn how to mix up the time frames and even how to build these sentences without even using the word if. So this is the most common type of mixed conditional. Look at how it's built. It takes a past, unreal condition and connects it to a present, unreal result. The if part is from the third conditional, if I had taken that job, but the result is from the second conditional, I would be rich now. See? It directly connects a past choice to your life today. Now, this second type is a little less common, but it's still so useful. It connects a present, ongoing thing, like part of your personality, to something that happened in the past. If I weren't so shy, that's a second conditional part describing how you are now, but it explains a past event. I would have gone to the party, which is a third conditional result. And now for a little pro tip you'll see a lot in formal writing, inversion. It actually lets you make a conditional sentence without if. And it's pretty simple. You just drop the if, and then you flip the subject and the helper verb. So a sentence like, if we had left earlier, just becomes, had we left earlier? It means the exact same thing, it just sounds a lot more formal.
All right, we have covered a ton of ground. So let's put it all together and really make it stick. We'll look at a master comparison chart, and then we'll do a quick quiz to see what you've learned.
Here it is. This is your ultimate cheat sheet. It lays out all four main types right next to each other. You can really see how it all flows. From 0 for things that are always true, to first for real future stuff, then second for those unreal present dreams, and finally, third for looking back at the past with regret. Feel free to pause here if you need to, because this is really the core of everything.
Okay, quiz time. First question. If I, her, I'll tell her you called. Now look at that second part. I'll tell her. That's your big clue. Are we talking about a real possibility or something unreal? Your options are see, saw, or had seen.
And the answer is A, C. Yup, this is a classic first conditional. We're talking about a real, possible thing that could happen in the future. So we use the present simple tense in the if part to go with the will in the result part. If I see her, I'll tell her. Perfect.
Question number 2. If I would apologize. This is a super common way to give someone advice. So what's the right word here? Am, was, or were? The correct answer is C, were. And this is a really important one to remember. When you're using the second conditional to give advice, like if I were you always use were. It doesn't matter if it's I, he, she, it's always were. It's the little signal that tells you the situation is totally hypothetical.
Okay, final quiz question for today. We wouldn't have gotten lost if my phone blank out of battery. That first part, wouldn't have gotten lost, tells us we're definitely talking about an unreal past. So which verb form do you need to complete the idea?
And the answer is A, hadn't run. This is a perfect third conditional. To talk about an unreal condition in the past, that if clause has to use the past perfect tense. In reality, the phone did run out of battery, so to imagine the opposite, we have to say if my phone hadn't run. So when you step back and look at it, conditionals are so much more than just a bunch of grammar rules. I love this quote. It says, they are a mechanism for processing the complexities of the past and the potentiality of the future. It's basically the language we use to make sense of our mistakes and dream up a better future. So I'll leave you with this final thought. What's one what-if moment from your own life? You know, a regret, a close call, a lucky break, anything. Think about it for a second and see if you can now describe it perfectly using that third conditional. Give it a shot. Thanks so much for watching.